Hi guys, is it possible to understand less at the end of a video than at the beginning? Well, that certainly happens to me a lot when I listen to Charlie Mullins, and here he was on GB News talking about working class. Now, he claims here that Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson have a better understanding of working class than Angela Rayner, a Labour MP. Yes, he actually said that. Have a listen to this.
Good to see you, Charlie. Thanks so much for joining us. Right, OK, you've seen what Danny Dyer's had to say about the state of our politicians, that they're all posh. We need more working class people in control of the country. What do you make of it?
Undoubtedly, it's right there. As politicians that come from sort of very upper class, they've not had the life experience, they've not had the lows, they've not been poor, basically, and have not worked their way to the top. I mean, I've been working class all my life, come from nothing and worked my way to the top. I'm still working class, and I think the value of it is the life experience you get from it. Obviously, I think these days it's not as important like the class distinction thing, perhaps as 30 years ago, but undoubtedly we need more working class, more practical people in politics, more people with common sense and people that can make decisions. And more so that if somebody comes from a very working class background and is working class, they understand the lower side of things in life, which unfortunately politicians don't have a clue about.
Charlie, it is actually a fact that we have the most working class government that we've had for a long, long time, if not ever at the moment. I think it's only 2% of the current Labour cabinet actually were privately educated. So that compares sort of like, they are mostly working class, including the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, who I think even you would agree is the very definition of working class.
Well, you say that, but, everybody has different meanings of working class. I mean, I don't think Angela Rayner comes from, a very, very poor background, struggled all her life. Yes, she may come from a council estate, but, that doesn't make you working class. I mean, she may have gone to university. Does that make you still working class? I believe proper working class are people that have come from a very bad background. They've started with nothing and they've worked their way through life and they've experienced all the life things. But I don't think any of the Labour Party I would class as.
Okay, so your definition, so Charlie Mullins' definition of working class, he said it at the beginning that he's working class, but his definition is you start off with nothing and then you become successful. So when you're in that period when you have nothing, are you working class? Because his definition is you start off with nothing and you end up with something. So that defines somebody as working class. But before they get that something, are they working class? Angela Rayner, before she went to university, was she working class? Did she stop being working class when she went to university? Like for this guy, his definition is, I presume, if you go to university, you're no longer working class. If you went to a private school, does that mean you're no longer working class? If you have money, does that mean that you are still working class? None of these definitions make any sense to me.
It's proper working class and,
And then there's proper working class. So Angela Rayner may be sort of working class, but not proper working class. Like, what does that even mean?
If anything, I mean, it'd be good if half of them just had a proper job. They never had a proper job or where you have to struggle or think.
So it's about working now. So you need to have a proper job in order to be working class. So if somebody lost their job, would they stop being working class? If somebody decided to quit their job to look after parents or relatives, work as a carer, even though that's not a paid job, is that still working class? What is this guy's definition of working class? I still don't understand. Is it you have to start with nothing and become a millionaire and then you're working class? Well, according to his definition from the very beginning, it seems.
For yourself. So I don't think none of the Labour Party are working class. And that's the point.
No one in the Labour Party is working class. So even people who didn't go to university are still not working class. People who have worked in jobs, not outside politics, they don't meet his threshold of working class. Once again, maybe the definition of working class is somebody who starts a plumbing company from nothing.
What Danny Dyer's making, that's why we're in a mess, because you got people that are in politics, people don't like them, and they're pretending to be working class, and that's a fine example of it. I mean,
Okay.
Angela Rayner is pretending to be working class. Okay. I would love for Angela Rayner to see this, and she can put to bed this idea that she's pretending or not.
Charlie, what about this one then? So Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage, okay, both incredibly popular with the working class voters, with the red wall, etc. But both of them privately educated, good university education. I mean, they're the definition of posh, but they're very popular with working class voters.
Okay, yeah, because they understand it. All of a sudden they've obviously looked into it properly, and they've not got their nose stuck up in the air. And
Nigel Farage went to a private school and worked as a city trader. Boris Johnson went to Eton and allegedly, I don't know if this is true, but allegedly, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was true, burnt a £50 note in front of a homeless person to get into an exclusive club. Now, does that sound working class to you? Now, look, it's very important to remember that you don't have to be rich not to understand, excuse me, you don't have to be poor to understand what poor people are going through. For example, Bernie Sanders is middle class or maybe even upper class, whatever you want to call it. But he understands, he's not poor, but he understands what poor people are going through. He understands the problems ordinary people in society are going through, even though he's a US senator. So being rich doesn't mean that you don't understand what people are going through. But Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage are the worst examples you could choose.
And they understand, the values of working class people and the importance of them. But these other posh people and that, they just look down on as if they're no value.
So Angela Rayner, according to this guy, doesn't understand working class people, but Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage do. Just let that marinate in your mind for a moment. Boris Johnson is closer to, or has a better understanding, I should say, of working class people than Angela Rayner does.
That's why Nigel and Boris are popular, because they're people's people and they get it. You don't have to be working class to get it, but you've got to have some sort of humanity about you, knowing that, the value of working class people. Many rich people I know come from working class backgrounds. They'll never retire. They keep, like myself, keep forming more companies because...
Okay, but are they still working class? Because according to you, to be working class, you need to start from nothing and become successful. But if you're successful, if you have a lot of money, are you still working class? Well, according to this guy, yes, you are. But if you go to university, that cancels it all out.
Because we've had it very poor, we've had it very low in our life, and we don't want to go back to that. So the fact that Nigel and Boris understand working class people, that's a big plus for them.
Okay, so it's not about how much money you've got. You can be you can be a millionaire like yourself and still be working class, like David Beckham, for example, still working class. But is it about education? Is it about how you talk? I mean, if you talk posh, can you still be working class?
Well, obviously, it's many people perceive it in different ways. If you talk like me, then you can't be middle class or upper class. I mean, I think we make too much of the class sort of distinction things. But yeah, people go by education, how you talk, what area you lived in, how much money you got. But that doesn't make you. It doesn't make you upper class. It doesn't make you. If you're working class, you're working class, and.
So if you're working class, you're working class. So the definition is completely useless. It's you are what you are. It's not. So he was asked about the accent. He was asked about the location. He was asked about education. No, you're working class if you're working class. The whole concept of working class is completely useless. I've mentioned before, it would be better to have something like working class are people who work for their income, and the owning class are the people who own the means of production, or they own the way they receive their income. So if you have property, or if you have land, or if you have shares, and you don't do a 9-to-5 job, or you don't work for someone, you're part of the owning class. And everyone else is part of the working class. So you work for someone to receive an income. It doesn't have to be a salary, it can be just some sort of money. So that would be the working class. But unfortunately, there is this outdated idea that, people who are working class are people who, who do cleaning in offices, and then the middle management are the middle class, and then the owners of the company are the upper class. But it's outdated because society has completely changed. But this idea that Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage have a better understanding of working class, or the idea of poverty, is for the birds. Once again, we'll watch this video and I understand less at the end of it than at the beginning. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.